The sun roasted the Kentucky asphalt as a sleek silver Mercedes idled on the shoulder. Inside, an elderly man with a legacy in finance tapped his fingers against the steering wheel, his frustration simmering under his tailored shirt. Matthew Evans, long retired but still very much a man of control, was marooned with a flat tire, far from the gated peace of his mansion. His phone was useless, and so was all his wealth at that moment, just as irritation threatened to crack his stoic mask. A silhouette appeared on the horizon. A kid, barely a teenager, walked with purpose toward him, scuffed sneakers, threadbare t-shirt, and eyes that had seen more than his years suggested. "Got a flat, sir?" he asked, steady and sure. "Yes. I was hoping for help, but my phone's dead out here." Matthew's voice held more defeat than he liked. "I got you," the boy replied, already crouching near the tire. "My granddad taught me last summer." He worked fast. His hands, though young, moved with quiet confidence. Matthew watched, unexpectedly humbled. When the job was done, the boy dusted off his hands with a faint smile. All set, Matthew reached for his wallet, offering some bills. "Here, for your time." But the boy raised a hand. "No need, sir. Just glad I could help." And just like that, he walked off, leaving behind silence, and a man forever changed. Still holding the cash, Matthew watched the kid vanish down the road. Something hit him in the gut, not sadness, just something. He shoved the bills back in his wallet and slid behind the wheel, the AC barely cutting the heat. But his mind? It was stuck on that kid. Even back at the mansion, the memory followed him. Big house, big money, big silence. He sat in a leather chair he never used, in a room filled with books he never read. Perfect meal on standby, and yet he just sat there. All he could think about? That kid's smile. Worn out shoes, dirt on his hands, a calm like he owned the world. No ask, no take, just help. Matthew had spent a lifetime around suits and sharks, deals, trades, agendas, but that moment, that was different, pure. Scotch in hand, he replayed it. Again and again, that dusty, confident walk, that rare kind of real. By morning, it was too much. He had to find him, didn't even know why. Guilt? Maybe. Curiosity? Definitely. Soul stuff? Probably. He drove the same road, stopped everywhere, gas stations, cafes. Seen a kid? Faded shirt, quiet confidence. Most people shook their heads. Then, a break. A lady behind a cafe counter paused. She paused, apron in hand, eyes narrowing in recognition. "Sounds like you're talking about Elijah," she said, with a knowing smile. "That boy's always helping someone. Lives with his mama over in Harlan." Harlan, Matthew echoed, committing the name to memory. It sounded like a whirl away, but it was only an hour, tucked into the Appalachian foothills. The drive was beautiful, but Matthew barely registered the landscape. His mind was chasing a silhouette in dusty sneakers. When he arrived, the town felt frozen in time. Humble homes, worn storefronts, the kind of place where everyone knows your name. Asking around led him to a weathered little house, porch sagging slightly, like it bore stories too heavy to tell. He parked, hesitated, then knocked. A woman in her 40s opened the door. Tired eyes, but kind. Guarded, but curious. "Can I help you?" she asked. "Good morning," he said, straightening his voice. "Sorry to intrude. I believe your son, Elijah, helped me with a flat tire yesterday." Her face lit with quiet pride. "That sounds like my Elijah. I tried to thank him, but he wouldn't take anything," Matthew said. She smiled, stepping back. "He's out back. You're welcome to wait." Inside, the house felt nothing like his own. The furniture was old but cared for. Pictures covered the walls, family sketches, love in every corner. He followed her into the backyard. There was Elijah repairing a fence, sleeves rolled up, eyes focused. The boy looked up, surprised. "Hey, mister," he said, wiping his hands. "What are you doing here?" Matthew smiled, nerves bubbling beneath his calm. I came to thank you again. You helped me when I really needed it, Matthew said, voice steady but low. I haven't been able to get it out of my head. Elijah shrugged, leaning casually against the fence. It wasn't a big deal, but to Matthew, it was monumental. The kind of gesture that lingers in your chest. They stood there in the warm stillness, the boy's calm gaze holding Matthew in place. For once the roles felt reversed. It wasn't the man in the tailored coat sizing someone up. It was the boy in dusted jeans, measuring something deeper. Most people, they don't do that, Matthew said, not without expecting something in return. Elijah tilted his head. His reply was simple. If someone needs help and I can give it, why wouldn't I? The honesty hit Matthew like a memory. He glanced around. The patched fence, tufts of grass fighting to grow, the swing set bowed under rust and years. This place was humble, scarce in luxury, but rich in something he couldn't buy. You've got a good head on your shoulders, he said quietly. Your mom must be proud. Elijah smiled, eyes flicking toward the house. She works hard. I try to make things easier. Matthew was silent, a flood of childhood images rising, his parents' sacrifices, the grit it took to survive. Somewhere along the climb, he'd lost that thread, and now here it was, in a backyard held by a stranger's hands. I want to do something for your family, he said, stepping closer. Elijah's expression shifted, cautious. We're all right, mister. We don't need anything. It's not about need, Matthew said with conviction. It's about what's right. Before Elijah could respond, his mother's voice floated out. Elijah, come in and wash up before lunch. She stepped onto the porch, catching sight of Matthew with raised brows and a dish towel in hand. Would you care to join us? She asked, brushing a loose strand of hair from her face. It's not fancy, but you're welcome. Matthew hesitated. No one had said something like that to him in a long time, without an agenda, without pretense. He smiled. I'd like that. The moment he stepped inside, the scent wrapped around him. Fresh bread, roasted vegetables, warmth you could taste in the air. The kitchen was modest but alive. A small table, mismatched chairs, and more heart than any mansion he'd ever known. Elijah washed up, sliding into a chair with that same effortless ease. His smile didn't waver, even as he passed the bread like it was the most natural thing in the world. Over lunch, Matthew listened more than he spoke. Elijah shared his dreams, engineering, discovery, building a better future. His mother talked about their town, its quiet heroes and tight bonds. And with every story, Matthew felt it. A warmth that reached somewhere deep, something long asleep. He thought of his house, quiet, vast, polished, but hollow. After they cleared the table, Matthew turned to her. You've raised an extraordinary young man, he said. More heart in him than most people I know. Her smile was soft, eyes glistening. Thank you. It hasn't always been easy. But we've learned to be grateful for the small things. Matthew nodded, heart heavy with a new truth. He couldn't leave empty-handed, not after what they gave him, a glimpse of what really matters. As he drove home, a fire lit inside. This wasn't charity. This was justice, recognition, respect. He made the calls, pulled strings, and a week later the sound of trucks and tools echoed through Elijah's yard. A new chapter was being built. One nail, one brick, one act of gratitude at a time. Matthew stood by the sidewalk, clipboard in hand, directing the flow of renovations. Elijah and his mother stood close together, overwhelmed by the generosity unfolding before them. You didn't have to do this, she whispered, her voice trembling. Matthew turned, his expression calm and sincere. You didn't just survive, you thrived. And you reminded me of something I'd forgotten. Please let me return the kindness. Elijah was quieter than usual, standing beside his mother, eyes curious and calm. Matthew knelt to his level. You showed me something, Elijah. Helping people, it's not about wealth. It's about presence, and I want to be present. The house began to change, one board at a time. The porch was rebuilt, the roof restored. A new swing set took the place of the old. Inside, fresh paint and polished floors brought light into the space. Elijah, ever helpful, tried to join in, but Matthew gently insisted. Just enjoy being a kid for a while. Still, Elijah watched the workers, eyes shining with wonder. Joe, one of the team, handed him a measuring tape, and just like that, Elijah was asking questions, learning eagerly. Matthew observed quietly, a deep warmth blooming inside. And one evening, as twilight set in, the family stood on their new porch, marveling at what had become of their home. "This isn't just a house anymore," his mother said. "It's a home. I don't know how to thank you." "You already have," Matthew said, his voice soft with meaning. "You reminded me what this life is supposed to be," Matthew said. Family, meaning, not just the grind. The final day felt surreal. Neighbors trickled in like extras in a scene they didn't realize was sacred, handing off jars of jam, fresh bread, pieces of themselves. Elijah tore through the yard, wild with joy. The house no longer looked tired. It breathed again. Matthew stood quietly on the porch, watching, and for the first time in years, his chest didn't feel empty. Elijah's mom came over, iced tea in hand. "You didn't just patch a building," she whispered. "You gave us hope, and maybe found some for yourself." He nodded. "I used to think money mattered, status, power, but none of it ever felt like this." As the sky bled into dusk, Elijah sat beside them. "I've been thinking," he said, "I want to help people too." Matthew placed a hand on his shoulder. "You already have? You started all this?" They sat, watching the day die slowly. But what had begun was something new. When it came time to go, they walked him to his car. Smiles, tears. Matthew knew this wasn't goodbye. Elijah's curiosity turned into obsession. Construction, tools, dreams in blueprint form. Matthew kept returning. It wasn't just visits anymore. It was belonging. One boy's act of kindness unraveled years of emptiness and rewrote what mattered.